Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4. I got it from Samsung. It's only a test unit and this model was announced back in June. It was launched in July and it's a Super AMOLED tablet finally after a long wait from Samsung. The device is priced at $400. It's an 8.4 inch model and it also comes in a 10.5 inch unit, separate from this one obviously. So we're dealing with a device that's pretty slim and elegant, and people have compared it to a bigger Galaxy S5, especially thanks to the back texture. It measures 6.6 millimeters, so it's very skinny. It weighs 294 grams and it has a perforated back just like the Galaxy S5. It has a pretty good grip and it comes in white with golden extremities and also in brown, or as they call it, bronze. And as I said, it has a gold edge that looks pretty nice if you're into golden colored devices. It has a high build quality, it feels very solid, and it's also slimmer and lighter than the iPad mini Retina if you really want a comparison, and that in spite of having a bigger diagonal. It's also easy to hold with one hand if you want to quickly view some articles or simply check your email or just scroll through the apps on your screen like I'm doing right now. You won't even feel any strain by holding the tablet with a single hand. This is made of polycarbonate, obviously. It has rounded corners, as you can see, and it has flat edges as well. Okay, so on the front side we have the front camera and sensor at the top, and then we got the physical home button here and the fingerprint scanner embedded. There is the multitask area here, and I mean the multitask capacitive button and the back capacitive button, plus the small bezels on the side. We're done with the front, let's go to the back. We got the camera plus flash at the back, plus these two little things. These are called simple clickers because you can actually press them in. They're used to attach simple cover and the book cover accessories for the tablet. At the top we have a tiny little microphone and one of the two speakers. At the bottom is the other speaker, which proves to me that this is a landscape oriented device. The speakers are here and it's meant for movie watching, since if you hold it like this, play a game or watch a movie, the speakers are here, ideal for landscape viewing. Back to the bottom, as I said, we got a speaker, audio jack, micro USB port, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's see what's happening on the right side. We have the on-off button right here and the volume buttons right here. All of them have very good feedback. Then we have the microSD card slot here, easy to open up like this, easy to close, and the infrared emitter right here. This tablet is narrow and elongated, and as I said, it's made for landscape use rather than portrait. Overall the design is very nice, it's premium in spite of being made of plastic, and you will quickly get used to it even if you are fond of the iPad format. Now on the hardware side, we're dealing with a Super AMOLED screen. As I said before, it's an 8.4 incher with a very high resolution, 2560 over 1600 pixels, and inside the CPU is an Exynos 5 Octa 5420. It's an octa-core processor that uses 4 cores of the Cortex A15 kind, clocked at 1.9 GHz, and 4 cores of the Cortex A7 kind, clocked at 1.3 GHz. We also have 3 GB of RAM inside, and the GPU is a Mali T628. As far as the storage is concerned, the tablet comes in two flavors, either 16 or 32 GB of storage, and the microSD card slot can host an extra 128 GB. At the back there's an 8 megapixel shooter with an LED flash, while at the front we got a 2.1 megapixel camera right here. There are stereo speakers as you saw earlier, and we also have a fingerprint scanner and infrared emitter. On the connectivity side there is GPS, Wi-Fi dual band, and it's actually Wi-Fi A, B, GN and AC. There's Bluetooth 4.0, micro USB 2.0, so the charging is done via this port, the micro USB 2.01. There's Wi-Fi Direct, DLNA, and the same micro USB port does MHL. Keep in mind, there's no NFC, just in case you're wondering. And finally we also get an accelerometer, gyroscope, and the battery, it's a 4900 mAh unit or an 18.6 Wh unit if you want to. Okay, and now let's see how the battery did. In our test with Wi-Fi on and brightness at 50%, we achieved an impressive 13 hours and 33 minutes on battery, which is very fine Considering the iPad mini Retina achieves 10 hours and 8 minutes in our same test, the iPad mini 1 achieves 12 hours, and the Xiaomi Mi Pad also 10 hours. Meanwhile, one of the biggest rivals of this model and any Samsung model, the LG G Pad 8.3 achieves 7 hours and 40 minutes. The charge time is big, but seeing how much time you get from it, it's 3 hours, so I would say it's decent considering you get almost 14 hours out of the tablet. It's very good, and as if it wasn't good enough, there's also power saving. So if you go to general, go to power saving, there are two basic modes. There's the power saving mode and ultra power saving mode. Okay, so enter power saving mode, activate it. You have two options, restrict performance or grayscale mode. If you activate the first, you will save battery power by disabling the vibration feedback, turn off the screen after 3 seconds of getting notifications instead of 10, and then you can tweak this stuff. CPU performance, you can limit its maximum performance, you can reduce the screen frame rate and lower the brightness, you can turn off the touch key light, as you can see that's already happened, and turn off the GPS. Those are all part of the restrict performance option. And then we got the grayscale mode that you can see right here, and that's pretty basic. Once you activate it, the screen goes to grayscale, so it's basically black and white, and it saves a ton of power. And then comes the other saving mode, the ultra power saving mode, which is bigger and more important and was borrowed from the Galaxy S5. So if you activate it, this is what you get. With about 75% battery percentage, you get 37 days. That's an estimation, of course, based on my use of the tablet lately. And the ultra power saving mode does the following things. First, the screen goes grayscale, then you can only access essential apps plus the ones that you choose, as you can see right here. Of course, the brightness decreases and the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are off. I would say that with about 30% and ultra power saving mode on, you can get about 1 day of usage. Overall, I would call this an excellent battery. I'm very happy with it, and even the 3 hours of charging are okay. Now let's see how the dual speakers, the stereo speakers, handle the acoustic experience. We're turning off the ultra power saving mode, and now let's have a glance at the music app that comes with TouchWiz. Okay, so this is the music player. You may be familiar with it because it resembles the player you saw on the Galaxy S5 and basically on all the modern tablets that Samsung launched this year. And the tracks are divided into playlists, tracks, albums, artists, there's music square and folders. The music square divides songs by their mood. You got exciting, passionate, joyful or calm, depending on the BPM. The speakers are loud, clear, the bass is good, but let's actually listen to a tune before judging that. Okay, now the conclusions. As I said, we have a loud experience, it's also clear, we got good bass, it's a crisp sound and also warm. The songs with voices in them are very warm. And now this is the area where the settings come in. So we got settings and we got sound alive, that's basically the equalizer. There's an auto option, and then there are the options that allow you to focus on the instrument, the vocal, the bass or the treble. They're divided into genres like pop, rock, jazz. Classic focuses on treble. Pop is more vocal oriented, jazz is between instrumental and bass, and instrument and rock seem to be one and the same. There are also effects like tube amp, Virtual 7.1 surround, small room, large room or concert hall, or if you want more tweaking, there are 7 channels to play with sliders plus the options 3D bass clarity that are actually felt when customizing the sound. Other than that, we have Adapt Sound, that's more focused on customizing the headphone experience. There's Play Speed, so you can hurry up songs or slow them down. There's Music Auto Off and Smart Volume that automatically equalizes all the tracks to an equal level. Okay, so I would say that the sound is excellent, the volume is loud, everything is perfect, and if you don't believe me, we use the decibel meter and tested the acoustic quality of the device. We achieved 84.5 decibels, which beats the 84.2 decibels of the Xiaomi Mi Pad tablet that I also reviewed recently. Overall, I would say that the volume is louder than the iPad mini Retina and that the experience in the acoustics range is better. Now on the video side, let's go to the video player pre-installed on the tablet and watch the wonderful video of nature that Samsung supplied. And let's turn down the volume a bit. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Here we go. Okay, so we got an 8.4 inch screen here, Super AMOLED, resolution 2560 over 1600. This equates to a pixel density of 359 ppi. That certainly beats the 324 ppi of the iPad mini Retina. The blacks are deep and there's theoretically unlimited contrast ratio. We find that individual pixels don't get lit up in this case because AMOLEDs will light up only parts of the screen, the ones that show colors. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we're dealing with an 8 megapixel shooter right here with an LED flash, f2.4 aperture and a resolution of 3264 over 2448 pixels in 4:3 or 3264 over 1836 in 16:9. We also have a front camera that also has f2.4 aperture, and now let's check out the user interface of this camera. For that I'm going to use this castle as a sample to take some pics. Okay, so we're setting it up. Here we go. So this interface includes a bunch of options. On the left side of the screen we got the front camera shortcut, we got the flash settings and the regular settings, and then on the right side we've got the filming button, the shutter button, modes and shortcut to the gallery. Now let's analyze the settings area. It's filled with options, filled to the brim with options. We got the picture size in 4:3 or 16:9 aspect ratio, but there is also 1:1 aspect. We got burst shots on or off, picture stabilization, face detection, ISO going up to 800 or auto. We got some metering modes, center weighted, matrix or spot. We got the option to tap to take pics, save as for HDR, there's full HD filming, there's also HD and VGA, and video recording happens in a normal mode, limit for email or fast motion. It's basically a fast forward video. There's video stabilization, effects to play with like vintage, vignette, grayscale, sepia, tint, fisheye, rugged, and more to download and manage. The settings also include flash options, timer, location tags, the option to review pics or videos, a remote viewfinder if you have another device and you want to control the tablet from the distance, that's it. Options for white balance, options for exposure, and more options for grid lines, the assignment of the volume keys to take shots, voice control, and finally the option to reset the settings. So that's pretty much it. In the modes area we find many options that we also saw on the Galaxy S5, for example. We got beauty face with several settings that will remove wrinkles and imperfections. We got shot and more, that's actually more options in one. It includes best photo, best face, drama, eraser and panning shot. We've got panorama, HDR, dual camera, and two more modes to download, and those two are sports shot and sound and shot, with the latter capturing a picture and the sound at the same time. Okay, so let's play with the zoom for a bit, but we should be in auto for that. Okay, so you can zoom in up to 4 times, as you can see, 4x. And now let's actually take a pic. Regular shot, no flash, and now let's see how it's done. This is the first shot. If you zoom in, you'll certainly notice a bit of noise happening right here, but for a tablet I would say that the shots are pretty decent, and the level of detail is not very impressive, I have to say that as well. However, once again, for a tablet it should do. Now let's go to the gallery. Here we go, gallery, and we have about 70 shots taken here in a park during daylight. I should say that we get a fast picture taking here and a fast focus, so those are the things we praise about the camera. And those are the shots we've taken during day. They're very bright because it was a very bright day. They're also crisp and sunburnt. Most of them get some sunburn. There's a bit of oversaturation going on, and this here you can see it's a bit of a macro. You'll see noise appear instantly when you try to zoom in a bit. It appears at about 2 times zoom or even 3 times, but it's a tablet camera, so it may be excused. This is the panorama. It's actually looking pretty good, and it's also pretty wide. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 180-degree panorama. Okay, now let's see other shots worth mentioning here. Okay, so we got this regular shot and the HDR shot. The good thing about HDR is that it doesn't exaggerate with brightness, as some even phones nowadays tend to. I would say that the capture quality is just a little bit better than the one of the iPad mini and iPad mini Retina. It's about on the same page and on the same level as the Xiaomi Mi Pad tablet. And the colors, as I said, oversaturated, but in a decent way. They're not exaggerated. And now let's check out some videos. So let's start with this one. One clear thing is that stabilization is pretty poor here, but quality is actually pretty good. We're filming in Full HD. The video is very smooth, audio is stereo, the format is MP4. There's a slight bit of focus loss, especially at the start of the videos, and as I said, the lack of stabilization may be a problem for some people. As you can see, the continuous autofocus tries to find the perfect setting, and now let's try to find the fast forward video that I did at some point. That's the fast forward option from earlier. And one more video for the fans out there. Here we go. This is the one that loses focus a bit early in the video. It's also pretty burnt, so the camera doesn't exactly handle extreme sunlight very well. It's summer after all. However, I would say that overall this camera is better than 90% of the cameras on tablets nowadays, and in some aspects it beats the iPad cameras. Of course, thanks to the multitude of options available on the device. Those are also important aspects. So one important thing here is that if you select a picture, like let's say this one maybe, okay, so you select it, you tap something called Studio, and you'll see a bunch of options appearing here. We got Photo Studio, Collage Studio, Shot and More, Video Editor and Video Trimmer. I will start off with Photo Studio, that has some very nice options here. It's basically photo editing. We got Rotate, Crop, we got color options like Auto Adjust, Brightness, Contrast, Saturation, RGB, Temperature, Exposure and Hue. And we also have some effects to play with. And then we got stickers of all shapes and sizes, decorations, and finally we can draw on top of the picture if we feel like drawing. As you can see, it takes a long while to load, even for this Octa core tablet. And finally we have frames to attach to the picture. So those are the basic editing options available here. You can also do some video editing, which is actually a pretty nice feature. Let's find the vid. Got this one here, and I'm going to press Studio, Video Editor. This one I actually had to download in order to access it. So you can insert here some pictures, some background music. Then you can tap on your video and divide it into sequences. You can split them. You can add some effects like blur, invert, sepia, sharpen. And if you don't want effects, you can add text with various effects and sound effects as well. Plus volume, you can change the volume if you want, and you can insert transitions if I'm not mistaken. So let's say you add one more video in the mix. Here are the transitions that you can apply. Okay, you can also export them and do some auto editing. So that's basically the video editing available on this tablet, and also the photo editing, which is pretty cool. Okay, we're done with the camera. As I said, better than 90% of the tablet cameras out there. Now let's discuss performance, and performance here includes temperature. I'm going to go to this section and check out the thermometer. We achieved a temperature of 42.9 degrees Celsius. I've heard stories about this tablet overheating and even deforming. Well, this unit got heated but not overheated. It didn't bother me even when playing games, so it doesn't have a problem with heat, unlike what you've heard stories out there. Okay, so now the web browser. Here we go. We're on the standard Samsung website. This is the virtual keyboard. It's quite comfy. It has a numeric row at the top. It has support for handwriting, and let's access Tablet-News.com. By the way, this is the stock browser, and as you can see, it's very fast. And thanks to the crisp screen, you don't even have to zoom in to read our articles, because the resolution is high, the brightness is okay, so you'll get the best out of our website on this screen. Scrolling is also smooth, pinch to zoom also smooth, so we're dealing with a pretty fine browser here. Okay, now it's time to discuss the benchmarks. I have decided to compare the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 with the Xiaomi Mi Pad and the iPad Mini Retina. So I'm going to go to the screenshots area where we have the benchmarks, and here we go. In quadrant we score 19,510 points, while the Xiaomi Mi Pad didn't run this benchmark. Next up, on Tutu, 32,013 points. We got beaten by the Xiaomi Mi Pad and it's 39,000 points. And then we got Nenamark 2, 59 frames per second. Got beaten again by the Xiaomi Mi Pad with its 59.6 frames per second. And in Velamo, 2463, yet again beaten by the Xiaomi Mi Pad and its Tegra K1 processor with 2977. Other scores in the multi-core test from Velamo, 1627, in the Metal one, 1389, and finally 3D Mark, 13,346. This is an area where we were pretty close to the iPad Mini Retina that scored 14,629. It beat us by about 1,300 points. Meanwhile, the Xiaomi Mi Pad scored a huge 25,321 points. We continue the benchmark analysis. We got here GFX bench. This is the area where we scored in the T-Rex text off screen 21.8 frames per second. Meanwhile, the Xiaomi Mi Pad scored an enormous 47.7 frames per second, and the iPad Mini Retina was closer with 26 frames per second. In Geekbench 3, we got these two scores that are actually pretty good, 921 and 2739 in the single core and multi-core test respectively. I would say we beat the iPad Mini as far as I know. Probably the best score here is the one in speed test, a huge 29 megapixel in download and 27 in upload, while the Xiaomi Mi Pad has 22 and 6, and the iPad Mini Retina gets 19 megapixel in download. In the browser mark test, it actually didn't work. As you can see, it's lacking. It simply didn't run in the stock browser. However, in SunSpider we did very fine, 465. The lower the better. We beat the Xiaomi Mi Pad and it's 594 points. Meanwhile, the iPad Mini Retina beat us with 425. Overall, these are not very impressive benchmarks. I would have to say that we got beaten in most of them by the Tegra K1 Xiaomi Mi Pad and also by the iPad Mini Retina. However, in spite of the benchmarks, you obviously can run every new game that you want. That's pretty obvious, and also there is no lag on this tablet aside from those frames that you lose while navigating through the UI. That's not exactly lag per se, but rather lost frames is the fault of the interface rather than the device. Okay, so now let's discuss software. You just saw a sample of what some people may call lag, some people may call lost frames. Okay, so we got Android 4.4.2 KitKat with TouchWiz on top and also Magazine UI on top. We got these flat icons here. You can see them best in the settings area. You'll feel familiar with them if you saw the Galaxy Note 12.2 Pro review on our website, and also if you saw the Galaxy S5. So we have two types of home screen, the actual home screens with their very own widgets that you can apply, and you can see them here. And the other home screens, the ones that are part of the whole Magazine UI experience, you can see them here. They include tiles that are resizable and customizable. So this is basically a collection of widgets and apps that are displayed as tiles. So let's pick one of them and alter the experience. You can choose to change the layout by refreshing it. You can choose to resize if you want, or you can simply check out the available options. So we have news from various fields. We have the social area with Google+, LinkedIn, Weibo, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube. Strangely, Facebook seems to be missing. And we got applications like email, gallery, magazine here and now, which is basically Flipboard, music, S-Planner, watch on, and video. All of them can be added into your layout, and you can create new home screens, but not exactly home screens, but rather tiles of this sort. You tap on them and then you open their bigger versions. So that's basically Magazine UI in a nutshell. Okay, now on the regular home screen, you can keep it pressed, access your widgets, you just saw that, or you can keep the multitasking button pressed to the same purpose and also change the wallpaper in the process. As I said, the UI feels a bit similar to the one of the Galaxy S5, for example, and other Galaxy products from this year. Now in the notification area, you can obviously see your notification, and you also have these two areas, S Finder and Quick Connect. In S Finder, you can find certain pieces of content, stuff like pictures, songs, and even notes, and you can find them by tags, location, contacts, and other things like that. And meanwhile, Quick Connect will help you connect to the devices nearby. So if you have a phone nearby, or maybe a certain media streaming device, you can connect to it by simply activating your Bluetooth. Next up, we have the toggles here. There are a lot of them. So you can toggle Wi-Fi location, sound, screen rotation, Bluetooth, adaptive display, ultra power saving, multi-window, and there's this cute little toolbox that floats around the screen and activates features like the camera. Let's see it. So let's tap it again. It activates features like the camera, gallery, video player, and finally the web browser, and then it's quickly deactivated from the same toggle area. We also have screen mirroring, reading mode, smart stay, smart pause, blocking mode, private mode, and touch sensitivity, all of them available as toggles. Okay, now let's address that split screen thing. You can either gently swipe from the side to trigger that special bar, or you can keep the back button pressed to trigger it again. So I'm going to divide the screen in two. One part is video and the other part is the web browser. That's the multi-window mode. You know it from other devices. From Samsung, it's already famous, it's useful. It comes with special options right at the edge of the windows, allowing you to organize them into this type of display. You can also exchange content between them, resize them, give one more space or less space, and that's pretty much the split screen multi-window option. The multitasking is done by pressing this button. You can swipe up to close stuff, you can close them all with the press of a button, and you can even use a task manager to free up resources. And now if you have a glance at the lock screen, you'll see a bunch of cards here at the bottom. They're taken straight out of the Magazine UI, and they include the weather, Twitter feed, science and technology information, and my Google Plus account info. Now in the settings area, let's look up stuff that is really interesting. Okay, so we got connections, not something interesting here. Let's go to device. We got something called multi-window that you already know, notification panel options, toolbox options, and motions. Here you find your mute pause option. You can mute or pause by covering the screen with the hand. You have smart pause available, and you can also do a palm swipe to take a screenshot. Then we've got blocking mode, which is basically a do not disturb feature. We also have a private mode. That's basically an area protected by PIN, pattern, fingerprint, or password where you store your secret stuff. And then we have the famous finger scanner. Okay, so I have already registered my fingerprint, and if I want to lock the screen using it, I do something like this. It just recognizes my fingerprint. And now if I want to do a PayPal payment or maybe buy something from the Samsung application store, I will use my fingerprint. So I'm unlocking it like this, recognize it fast, the same system as on the Galaxy S5. We move even further into the tablet's functionality. We double tap the home button. What's the weather like? Restaurant nearby.
That's difficult to answer. Let me search the internet.
As you can see, it's pretty slow. The voice input is not exactly pretty friendly, and sometimes it resorts to Google for finding information, so S-Voice has a long way to go before it becomes Google Now or even Siri. As I said, there are frame losses in the UI. It's not lag, but it's bothersome sometimes. We've reached that part of the review where we analyze the pre-installed application list on this device, and as usual for a Samsung device, there's a ton of pre-installed stuff. We got something called My Files. It's basically a file manager, nothing fancy here. We got internet, we got S-Planner, which I always like to call a calendar on steroids, allowing you to add events, sync stuff to your various accounts. Then we got email, we got music and video player, gallery, settings, calculator, S-Voice, and Galaxy apps. This is your app store from Samsung. If I'm not mistaken, it has been rebranded. As far as I know, last I heard it was Samsung apps, now it's Galaxy apps. The interface is a bit better. There are bigger fonts and better delimitation between apps. There are also recommendations, wish lists, purchased, and various payment methods. Finger crossed for PayPal also being on the list. Then there's Watch On, that's not available in my country. And then there's Peel Smart Remote, that's a two-in-one application. One part of the app is your TV or set-top box remote. That's available right here. You can change the channel, go back, and do a variety of other commands specific to your TV set, and you can get a guide of stuff to watch on a certain channel. Then there's Paper Garden, that's also not supported in my area. Paper Garden will usually provide you with the latest magazines and publications that are specifically designed for Super AMOLED screens. It's basically a partnership between Samsung and the big publisher Condé Nast, so it's pretty sad that it's not available in my region. Okay, we move even further. We got Site Sync 3.0. You can sync this tablet with the Galaxy S5 and even take calls from the from the phone to the tablet, which is kind of cool and reminds me of the interaction between the LG G2 and the LG G Pad. Then there's Remote PC, pretty much speaks for itself. You use the tablet, connect to your PC, and using this high resolution display, you can control your folders, files, and everything you need for work from the tablet to the PC. There's WebEx coming from Cisco. It's a business software used for conferencing. And then there's the Play Suite, play music, play books, play newsstand, play games. There's Hangouts, there's Chrome, there's Google Maps, working like a charm. It located us pretty fast. Slight bit of lag happening here till the map loads completely. Okay, we proceed. We got YouTube, Play Store, Drive, and Business Week Plus. It's Plus because it has bundled stuff. You get free 1 year of content here. Pretty nice magazines, I have to say. This is only a part of the premium stuff that you get with the tablet. As usual, Samsung offers a few $100s worth of content, apps, and publications on the device. We got Evernote, also pre-installed, probably also with special premium stuff available at activation. Flipboard included. It has been feeling gimmicky lately. Flipboard is not exactly working like it used to, but people are already familiar with it. Let's proceed in this list of applications. We also have Hancom Office Viewer, allowing you to open Office files, and Netflix, New York Times, yet again with premium bundle content at the purchase of the device. Okay, and let's see what else. A bunch of stuff we installed. Hancom Office again, video editor, that's kind of cool, and finally the kids mode. That's a pretty cute way to give this tablet out to kids and make sure they don't break anything or download something that you wouldn't want them or watch something that you wouldn't want them to. There are cute icons, there are special apps for the kids, there is a special store for them. Everything becomes cuter in kids mode, and they can only access certain apps that you allow them to once you start this mode. There's a pin, there's parental control, one click away, so very nice mode. In the end, I would like to say that the UI on this tablet feels cluttered, especially in the settings area and especially in the magazine UI section. I also said it was cluttered on the Galaxy S5 in the settings, and this is the Magazine UI. Yet again, a bit cluttered if you prefer the stock Android. Now it's time for the pros and cons related to the tablet. I have to say that in the pros section, totally the screen. This is actually the best screen I've ever seen on a tablet. It's perfect, it's excellent, it's very bright, has beautiful viewing angles, great colors, customization modes. We also have an excellent battery on board on this tablet. It gave us 13 hours and more of video playback, very loud audio, a pretty good camera, solid build, a very thin device, 6.6 millimeters, thin and elegant. We have premium content, and ultra power saving is a plus. Those are all pros. On the con side, I will say it again, loss of frames when browsing through the interface, the clutter of the interface, some services do not work in my country, and the low benchmarks are also a con. There is no NFC, and S-Voice is pretty much useless in my book. Now let's give the verdict. Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 gets from Tablet-News.com a 9.5 out of 10 for this beautiful design, a 10 for hardware. You have nothing to reject here. We have an Octa core processor, a very good battery, very good speakers, good camera and good display, so a 10 out of 10 for hardware. On the operating system and user interface side, the grade is a bit lower, it's 9.3 out of 10. Still, the grade is quite good, it's a 9.6 out of 10. Oops, I have to use the fingerprint scanner, so let's try again. Okay, so the final grade is 9.6 out of 10 with a perfect 10 in the hardware area, so we're really dealing with a hit here. I would say this is the best tablet screen in 2014 so far, and the best tablet battery, plus it's the best Android tablet I've tested, even beating the Xiaomi Mi Pad that I've also tested recently. It's simply too beautiful and too well performing to ignore, so 9.6 out of 10 from Tablet-News.com. Bye bye.